I'm going to tell you 3 truths about this Badgers basketball team, plus a new portal commit. We got to talk about it.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is good, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day. Appreciate you joining us however you get here. I'm your host, Ryan Herrings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Today's show, we are talking about we have to talk about a new portal commit that the Badgers were able to get. We have to talk about 3 truths with this Badgers basketball team. And I also want to tell you about one thing I'm concerned with this team. That's all coming up on today's show. But let's start here. And by the way, I realized I forgot to update my my topics over there. Let me see if I can do that quick as I'm talking. The magic of live podcasting. But I want to start with 3 truths with this Badgers basketball team. 3 things that I think are fact, basically, at this point. There we go. There's the new sideline there. If you were listening on audio, you missed all of that. If you're watching us live on YouTube, look at that. Multitasking. Let's make it happen. Very, very grateful to be here as always, talking to you guys, talking to you gals in the Badger community. There's nothing better than that, and I appreciate you. All right, let's start here. 3 truths with the Badgers basketball team. The first one is this offense is really good. That's a truth. What degree of elite and what degree of really good, I think, remains to be determined a little bit. Iowa was really bad on defense, and that is going to boost some of the Badgers' metrics if you look at this analytically, because they just dropped 116 on them. But a lot of teams play Iowa this year. Nobody else is dropping 116. Let's keep it real. There's a combination of a really good offense that had a good shooting night running into a bad defense, and Wisconsin put them through a buzzsaw. So let's look at some numbers here. When I say this offense is really good, what do we mean? I mean they're really good at like just about everything. In transition, 83rd percentile. They are the 19th best team in the country in all of Division I basketball. 19th best in all of Division I basketball in points per possession, points per play. So essentially, every time there's a play, they get 1.049 points out of it. That's an elite metric. 19th in the country. Okay, and some of the teams above them. And it's no disrespect to some of those teams. Some of those teams above them are not playing in conferences that anybody would be able to name or put on a map. So among real teams, they're probably like 10th. I didn't actually filter out the teams that aren't in major conferences or power mid-major type basketball conferences. They're probably like 10th among real teams, among points per possession. We have enough of a sample size now where you can start to put things in magic marker, right? You remember as a kid, you just don't write a magic marker because you make mistakes. You have enough of a sample size, you can start to write in magic marker some truths about this team that you're not going to have to worry about getting erased. This offense is good. That's a truth. This offense is good. And how good? Like it might be kind of elite. I'm not sure if I'm going to quite go there yet because there's going to be some games where I think defenses give them a little bit of trouble, more athletic defenses, but we're going to get into against some of the numbers. This offense is good at basically just about everything. 83rd percentile in transition. 98th percentile overall in half-court offense among all qualifying Division I teams. 92nd percentile in out-of-bounds plays along the end line, which speaks a lot to coaching. It also speaks to shooting and decision-making. 89th percentile on spot-up shooting. 91st percentile on pick-and-roll ball handler. So basically when the pick-and-roll guy keeps the ball, they're in the 91st percentile on that. You see a lot of plays initiated in the pick-and-roll with this offense specifically, with Blackwell, Tonje, McGee. They've all been really good, so it makes sense that when they keep the ball coming off that pick-and-roll, the offense is really good. The numbers bear that out. They are 98th overall, 98th percentile in offensive rebound putbacks, 79th percentile in isolation, 86th percentile in guarded catch and shoot, which you saw a lot of that again against Iowa. Catch and shoot threes from Kamari McGee, from Carter Gilmore, from Xavier Amos, from Blackwell and Tonje. They all hit that type of shot in that Iowa game. And here's the kicker. Here's the fun thing. They're in the 51st percentile in unguarded shooting. So when they're unguarded, they're about middle of the pack, which that can go up. There's levels to this that could actually get a little bit better. Now, you're not going to shoot to the degree which you did against Iowa ever. That's just not going to happen very often. But, which I'm going to get into my next point here, those were good shots. And good shots lead to good offense. Let's see, a couple people in the chat already. Justin Tyler says, Happy New Year, Ryan. You're the GOAT. I am not that, Justin, but thank you for tuning in, my friend. I really do appreciate it. I want to get into my second truth with this offense, with this team. My second truth is, this team is bought in and they are playing team ball. Absolute team ball, and they bought in. I went back and I looked at every shot from that Iowa game, every 3-pointer made or missed, right? I just want to, because make or miss, what you really want to track as a coach, what you really want to take a look at is shot quality. It's not really about makes or misses. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what gets you buckets, but you can make a bunch of bad shots in a game and win the game, and people think, oh, great shooting, great offense. Well, if they're bad shots, eventually you're going to start shooting 19%. You're going to lose a bunch of games. What you're hunting is good shots, obviously, and good shots are going to go in more than bad shots, and that's really what you're trying to find. You look at the 31 3-pointers that Wisconsin took. I went back and charted them. 24 of them, I would say, were really good shots, which I would define as either wide open or in rhythm, ball swings, not somebody right in their face. 24 out of 31 3-pointers, I thought were orchestrated by the offense. They were orchestrated in transition. They are high percentage, high efficiency looks that if you're going to continue to get those looks, you're not going to shoot 61% because that's absurd, but you're going to keep shooting a high percentage because those looks are golden. And some of those looks came on penetration kickback. Kamari McGee had a couple of those. Some of those looks came on super unselfish play. When you go back and look, Max Klesmit, really unselfish. Ilver had a really unselfish play. Tonje had a couple unselfish plays, kicking it to the corner to Blackwell. A lot of unselfishness on this team. That's the other truth of this team. They have bought into the system. You can see it. You can see with the way they hunt threes, with the way they move the ball, with the way they penetrate, pivot, kick it back to the corner, with the way they're looking for a wing pass, one more to the corner. In transition, they're running to threes. Blackwell's running to three. Tonje's running to three. Kamari McGee's running to three. This is a really efficient offense that these pieces have bought into. Hella credit to the coaching staff for that, by the way. Greg Gard, Penny, the entire staff. I mean, I don't want to just single out those two, but I think those two are the biggest that you would talk about here. Greg Gard being willing to adjust, being willing to find a new way to do things after, quite frankly, being kind of iconoclastic in the way he had done it his entire career. Changing that up is really impressive to me. And then Kirk Penny coming in and really installing some of these shoot threes. We got to hunt this shot a little more. We have to be a little quicker. And you can see it all over the court right now. And the players have bought in. And that's kind of fun. And by the way, it's kind of scary if you're an opposing team, because here's my next truth. It's the balance that's scary. Sure, there's some star power on this team. Tonje has some star power. Blackwell has some star power. Winter maybe has some star power going forward. But it's really the balance. The Badgers this year have 6 players that average 0.992 points per possession or more. Last year, they had 4. Who do you guard? The problem more is how do you load up to stop the guys that are getting hot without leaving somebody open? So this year, it's Winter, McGee, Tonje, Blackwell, Gilmore, and Crowell, all averaging all averaging more than 0.992 points per possession. Those are really good numbers. Those are really efficient numbers. Last year, the Badgers only had 4 of those guys. AJ Storr wasn't one of those guys. So when you have 6 guys in that mix, and by the way, Klesmit's not even in that mix, and you can't leave him. I guarantee you scouting reports aren't comfortable leaving Max Klesmit in the corner on a shot. That's 7 guys right there that you have to be concerned about, that you have to be worried about, because they're efficient, they're shooting. And as a team, when you're scouting this up, one of the biggest things I liked from the last John Tonje couple games is he hasn't forced the ball. He hasn't gotten a lot of times shooters, scorers, when they average 19 points per game, 20 points per game, 18 points per game, which Tonje has been doing. And they're getting national headlines, transfer of the year, Big Ten potential offensive player of the year. Like, this guy's incredible. They start hunting their shots because they feel like they need to keep that volume up. They have to keep scoring 19, 20 points per game. Tonje hasn't done that. Tonje was super efficient last game, was comfortable moving the ball. You go back and watch him. He's not taking bad shots. He's making the extra pass. So if you're a defensive guy, you're scouting up the Badgers, you have them on the schedule coming up. You're like, who do I help off of, man? If I can't give that much more attention to Tonje because he's just going to move the ball and all these guys can shoot it. I can't double Crowell because he has the highest assist rate on the team. Hopefully my big can just hold up down there, because we've already seen Crowell will take it to bigs that aren't very physical. Nolan Winter is coming on. If McGee comes on, I got to worry about him. Then you have John Blackwell over there who just dropped 32. By the way, I can't leave Carter Gilmore anymore. How many times last year did you see Carter Gilmore with 8 feet of space between him and the defender? If I'm a coach, I'm probably still kind of leaving him, to be honest, because the overall statistical picture of Carter Gilmore says he's not a shooter. But if he keeps shooting like this, where as a coach do you go to find those defensive matchups that can help, turn a game in a pivotal moment, that can give you kind of something that can flip a switch? It gets more difficult because everybody on this team can shoot. There's great balance. It's efficient. Players have bought in. Those are my 3 truths for the Badgers basketball team this year so far. Coming up, my biggest question still with this team and a new portal edition. We got to sound the cannon. We're going to do a mid-cannon mid-show canon. Never done that before. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. First, a quick break for our friends of the show over at FanDuel. FanDuel's awesome. FanDuel is incredible, easy, fast to use. The NFL playoffs are almost here. My Niners aren't in it, but dang it. But it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet hits. FanDuel is awesome because they're fast, they're simple. The user interface is really clean. I've had to use customer support once or twice because I couldn't figure something out. Their customer interface is fast. Payouts are really quick. This is the place we go. It's the official sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network and the NFL. You're not going to go wrong with that. Visit FanDuel.com today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance to win $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Again, official sportsbook partner of the NFL, Locked On Podcast Network. You are not going to go wrong with FanDuel today. All right, let's talk biggest question with this team for me. Oh, let me hit any comments up. We got a couple comments in here. Okay. Erlin says, fun question. Why is it I don't mind the Badgers go full send from 3, but can't watch an NBA game do the same thing? It's a good question. I think because the offense is cleaner with the bat. It just looks cleaner. There's a lot more ISO ball in the NBA. Not to turn this into an NBA thing, a lot more ISO ball in the NBA where it's really just, it's tough to watch. And I love the NBA. I'm a Suns fan. It's tough. Tyler says, Ryan, you're the best dude. No, Tyler's the best dude. I got to meet him. I had the privilege of meeting Tyler. He's absolutely awesome. Badgers appear to be favored by 1.5 against Rutgers. Rutgers is missing one of their studs. So Rutgers has 2 mega stars, the 2 most efficient players offensively in the Big Ten, I think, this year in a points per possession game. They are missing, I think it's Harper's not out in there, if I remember correctly. But that is, I am also a little surprised at that if the Badgers are favored by 1.5 on the road. That's a weird place to play. I've been there. That's an important game for the Badgers. I agree. Justin says, I'm interested to see how Tonje plays in the big. Don't want to rely on him, but who's going to be our bucket getter in crunch time? I think that's kind of goes back to the point I just made. And I think I addressed this maybe after you made the comment, Justin. I think anybody can get it. I think this offense is efficient enough where they're going to miss kind of a little mismatch hunt. I remember listening to Chris Paul talk once, and he was talking about you got to find the pigeon on defense. The pigeon is the guy that can't guard. I think they're able to move the ball around and find some mismatches now because there's multiple guys that can score. Klesmit can score, Crowell, Winter, Tonje, Blackwell. None of them are elite, right? That's the thing. If Illinois has some stoppers, Purdue's got a couple stoppers, Michigan State does, they can put a wing stopper on Tonje, and that might be fine. It's not that Tonje can't score on that either, but maybe we just shift it over. We go single side pick and roll with Blackwell and Nolan Winter then, and fine, put your stopper on Tonje. We're going to shift the offense somewhere else. I think there's a lot of that going on with the Badgers. Gabe's a great dude, man. Locked On Badgers said, let's go UW to the Elite 8. Let's go, man. Tyler also says, as much as I dislike how integral Crowell is to whether we win or lose games, he has played decent since Gard called him out. Can we expect him to keep this up, or is he fired up right now and he'll settle down? I think he's going to keep it up. Now, listen, I also lean optimist. People know that about me, but I think when you get a kick in the rear end, you change up what you're doing, and then results follow. It tends to me to think that those results are going to continue to fall because you've seen, oh, wow, yeah, that does make sense. And now it's working. And look at us, we just dropped 116 on Iowa. It would be weird to me if we would now see regression after we've seen this really good stretch from Crowell and the offense playing much better because of it, partially because of it. Again, Crowell's a key part here. He's not the best part, but he's a key part to what they do. All right, let's go here with my biggest concern. And it's the defense, but specifically a couple things here on defense that worry me a little bit. I don't think there's an elite wing stopper yet. I hope Blackwell will turn into that. Tonje isn't that. We really don't have a great athlete. We have good athletes. Blackwell's a good athlete. Tonje's a good athlete, but there's not a guy on this team that's playing regular minutes. Freitag is a plus athlete, but he's not playing. There's not a guy on this team that we can put on a 6'7" wing and really just athletically hang 1-for-1. I think that's a concern. It's not going to get fixed. And then the other one is just from a defense or rebounding standpoint, there are going to be teams that just batter us, and there's no fix for that this year. So that's the concern. That's a truth. We talked about it heading into this year. What is the biggest ward on this team? I think it's interior toughness, and it hasn't been fixed. This is a team that still has some defensive issues. We've seen it. Currently, there's only 2 players on this team. You remember I talked about all the players on this team that have been really good offensively from an analytics standpoint. There's only 2 players on this team defensively from a points per play analytics standpoint that are above 60th percentile. And it's Carter Gilmore that's like 61. So he's not even that high in that metric. And Nolan Winter is like off the charts. Nolan Winter, by the way, has turned it on offensively and defensively. We talked about that. But the rest of the Badgers, when you look at them, when you go into the numbers, and this bears itself out in shooting percentages from opponents, it bears itself out on a lot of spots. It's mostly an average collection of defenders that have to get it done through effort, through team defense. And quite frankly, even then, it's never going to be a great defense. So the offense is going to have to carry us. We talked about that, but about a third of the way through, I think you called out a truth as well. All right, let's do this. We've never done this mid-show, but I really thought talking basketball was more important than leading off with a portal commit, because this basketball team is freaking rolling. I mean, it's freaking rolling after a couple games here, but that's exciting to me, and I'm stoked for it. But let's talk cannons. Let's talk the new commit.
Fire the recruiting cannons. Another one is headed to Madison on Wisconsin.
Okay, let's talk new transfer portal commit. De'Anthony Hill coming from Miami, 1 year of eligibility left. What have I seen from him? I was able to talk to Brian Smith a little bit about him, who that guy knows Florida really well. Brian Smith says he's got some talent, but probably from the sounds of it, more of a depth piece. Decent size, about 6 foot, 6'1". I think what he is he's just another body. You need bodies, and you need injury insurance. You need body insurance. You need a guy. You need extra bodies in practice. We talk about this all the time with basketball. We used to, better depth increases the level and intensity of practices. It makes your stars better. You just need, and by the way, I'm not saying this guy's practice fodder, but I am saying on a roster, you need cornerbacks to run 7-on-7s to give quarterbacks better looks, to give receivers better looks. So this group desperately needs some depth. He's played a lot of ball. Originally committed to Marshall, ended up going to Miami. He didn't play that well at Miami. I'll just be straight up with you. A lot of Miami fans, I talked to one of them who kind of covers the program, like he's kind of like, But he did say, good tackler. This is a guy who will be physical. He'll come up, he'll tackle. And as a depth piece, okay, it is what it is. The Badgers still need to add there. I was looking at the cornerback spot the other day, and if Rico comes back and you pick up another portal guy, you can start to see the patchwork quilt of what could work in the secondary. Possibly you even get with some of the new NCAA rulings where there's a little more eligibility for various reasons. Possibly you can even lure a guy like Max Lofi or Nizer Forkreen back. And if you could do that, then you have a Forkreen Rico 1-2 with Harper and Agard as your 3-4s. You did 2 portal transfers, and you can start to quilt it together into something that makes sense. I don't think there's a path here where the secondary and this cornerback room specifically is way above average, but could they get solid? God, I'm using that word so much this year. I'm going to retire it after this year, but can you get them to be solid and then hope and improve pass rush takes your defense to the next level? I think that's the key with what we're looking for here for the Badgers. I'm not sure if they'll get there or not. All right, let's get a couple of your comments in here. Actually, no, let's take a quick break, come back, and I want to hit all of your comments, get as much of it. We'll make the entire last section of this show a comment show and go from there on Wisconsin. And let's get one more break for our friends of the show, and then we'll roll through all your comments that we can get to. Today's episode brought to you by our great friends over at Game Time. I apologize. Game Time is the #1 source for all your ticketing needs. I've used them to get baseball tickets. I got great seats. I was in the taxi and my ticket hookup failed because my boy who had the hookup, he failed me. Never trust that guy again. David Bermuda. No, I want to say his last name. Sorry. David. Never trust that guy again. But I was scrambled mode. We're heading to the stadium. We got to get this game in. We're there on travel. I'm like, Game Time. Bam, 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 bam. Tickets done. Beep, boop, 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 boop. It was that simple. We got cheap tickets, great seats, got to watch the Braves play. It was awesome. That's what Game Time is. It's fast, it's simple, it's easy. Flash deals get you incredible savings. You can see the seats and everything around you before you sit down, so you know exactly what you're getting. Game Time also has tickets to concerts, musicals, every sport you can think of. It is your entertainment concierge to whatever you want to do in 2025. Go make it happen over at Game Time. Snag the tickets without the stress at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Locked On. Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. That's code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase over at Game Time. All right, let's get into some of your comments here. And once again, as always, thank you for tuning into Locked On Badgers, being part of this community. Honestly, I try to say it a lot. Can't thank you guys enough, guys and gals, enough for being part of this. it means a ton, and it's quite frankly pretty awesome just to be a part of it. And we're all part of it. We're all part of making this what I think is one of the best Badger communities on the internet. And there's no bigger or lower part than that. Okay, let's get some comments here. Bo Dragon says they've only beat one good team the entire year. Pittsburgh. Arizona is just about 500. This is Poppycock. I would say, I mean, Pittsburgh's good. Listen, Iowa is one of the best offensive teams in the country. That's a good team. It's not a great team. That's a good team. Yeah, they also haven't had any bad losses. That's important as well. Their losses have come to a Michigan team that's good. You know, obviously you have Illinois. And Marquette obviously is which got away from him in the second half. No bad losses. A couple of what I would call quad 2, quad 1 type wins. And the NCAA tournament committee is going to look at some of these wins a little higher than you are, Bo. Fair or not, they are. So Gabe says, that's right, Ryan. No crying and whining on this team. Everybody's bought in. Can't say the same about last year's team. What's frustrating is that last year's team was arguably more talented. That's a great question. Yeah, it was. In the chat, last year's team or this year's team more talented? Listen, Storr has the NBA type upside if he ever figures it out. You have Chucky Hepburn, Tyler Wall, but then you're bringing in a Tonje. You have second-year Blackwell, second-year Winter. I think it's probably a push, but this year's team plays better together. I think it's a push, but whereas last year it felt like the sum of the parts didn't equal what it should, it feels like this year the sum of the parts equals what it should, if that makes sense. I think they're probably about a push. Maybe not, though. Maybe you're right. L. Mills says, balance is great, but love JB as the aggressor. JB in that game against Iowa, you could tell he was A, fresh, and B, he was ready to kind of start putting his mark on the season. Baseline drives to the rim. Get out of my way. One of the best things that Blackwell does is when he gets a step on somebody, he doesn't. So Blackwell is interesting because a lot of guys, when they get a step on somebody, they explode to the rim, try to reach out. Blackwell knows he's not the most explosive straight line guy, but he's really physical, has a great feel for the game, great balance. So he gets a step on somebody, he kind of gets into them, creates some space, draws the foul. He was all over that game. Really, really aggressive. I agree. Let's get some more comments in here. Terwin Lowe says, any word on Hallman staying or going to the draft? I think he's going to stay. I do, but I don't have that officially. I wouldn't say it. I do think he's going to stay. And that if he stays, you're talking about retention. There's portal rankings, right? There's 4-star, 5-star portal rankings. That guy's a 3-star. There should also be retention rankings, guys that are in flux and you're able to get back. Rico would be a 5-star retention ranking. If that guy was on the portal, right, and Wisconsin picked him up with his resume, he started a bunch of years, had how many picks did he have last year? Like 7, 8, whatever it was. Borderline NFL guy, really smart. Boy, Wisconsin, man, we'd be over the moon. That is a major retention opportunity. The Badgers need to nail it. Denard Price says, free Xavier Lucas. That must be a Miami fan. Yeah, I don't know, man. Listen, I did a show on it. I like Xavier. I talked about him. He's a good kid, in my opinion. I also think y'all probably tampered. And let's chill out there with the free Xavier Lucas because you probably only know half the story, and it's the half that's aligned to your fandom. So I would say that. Okay, let's keep going here. A couple more questions, more comments. Adam Pettis says, love the football portal additions. Fickell on fire. He's done well. I think he's done really well this offseason. Again, I think we need to temper expectations only in the sense that we know some of these guys won't hit. That's based on the last couple of years. It feels like this year they were more tactical, though, which means they were more very targeted on what they want to do. They reloaded on defensive line. I like the high upside linebacker they got. I think he's kind of a lottery ticket. I love the quarterback. I've talked about it. I think offensively they did really, really well. So I agree with you, Adam. And I think they had enough bodies on defense where even if a couple don't hit, enough of them should that unit will get better. I agree. I think he's been really good. Alien Space says Winter is more athletic than Crowell. Absolutely he is. Yeah, he just is. He moves better. He's quicker. Excuse me, he's bouncier. He is a better athlete than Crowell. But Crowell is just so important to this team. And which is partially because there's not a lot of depth in the front court, right? One of the things we talked about for a long time is you have to upgrade the depth in the front court. We haven't done Wisconsin hasn't done a great job of doing that. And because of that, it magnifies the importance of your really one true starting five. Greppy, by the way, also news, Greppy was hurt himself, some lower body injury. I don't fully know. He wouldn't have been counted on to play much this year anyway, but he certainly isn't going to be now. He's going to be out for a little while. Okay, let's keep going here. Bo Dragon says Blackwell is better than Chucky. Tonje is better than Store. Winter is better than Wall. They're obviously better this year. I think they miss Chucky. I do. I really think they miss Chucky a little bit more than people think. And I love Blackwell. I love all these pieces. If you mix Chucky into this, I think he could be a multiplier for this offense. The way this offense right now wants to move the ball and shoot, if you added a guy like Chucky, who is better at getting into the paint, a really good passer, I'm telling you right now, like I think he would magnify this offense. I think he would take it up a notch. And he would also give you a pressure release valve against really aggressive defenses. And when locked in, he was a good defender. He wasn't locked in all the time last year. Let's be very honest about this. But nobody on this team felt like they were. It felt like this entire team was a shambolic mess of misfit toys trying to get along with each other while not going into timeout. It was a even if these teams are equal, right? And I do think this team is better than last year's team. This year's team is just so much more fun to watch. It's night and day. There were games last year, it felt like I was at the dentist, and the dentist is like my phobia. You guys don't even know. I once got so scared at the dentist. The dentist at the end of my appointment gave me movie tickets because I was so brave. I was like 37. Like that place terrifies me. And last year it felt like watching Badger games was kind of like being at the dentist. So this team is so much more fun to watch. It's so much more enjoyable. And I do think their upside is higher because of the way they can shoot. Defensively, it's better. It's not markedly better than last year. I do think there are still some issues here defensively. Adam says, are they going to beat Rutgers tomorrow? What exactly is that red Wisconsin batter behind you? I hate predicting Big Ten road games. I just don't know. Like I would tell you, yes. I don't know. Shooting doesn't always travel. They could easily shoot 28% tomorrow and lose to Rutgers. I don't know. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's a good game, and I certainly wouldn't be shocked either way. The red banner behind me is a Wisconsin flag that I got a while ago. Not everybody knows this. I am in the process of transitioning and building an office in my garage, which this podcast will take place in. It's not done yet. I get people, they'll comment like, Ryan, you have to upgrade your background. I'm like, bro, I'm trying. I'm building an office. It's literally almost done. I think within this week, we'll transition to the new office. Maybe we'll do kind of a fun show when that happens. Anyway, on Wisconsin, really do appreciate everybody tuning in. Gabe Ramos says losing Wall was a huge upgrade. Offensively, yes. I still think we miss him defensively, and I still think we miss him on the boards. But I think you trade that for the better spacing and the better offense. So I would agree it's an upgrade. I don't know if I would say huge, but I'm a bigger Wall guy than a lot of people. And I mean, you're talking about a guy that's playing professionally. He is playing professionally in Europe. The guy can ball. Now, this offense couldn't be what it is with him, though. So I think that's a very fair point. Okay, let's wrap it up there. On Wisconsin, as always, Realist says your mom's basement is awesome, though. That's awesome. Oh, I wish. My mom's basement's nicer than this. I would record down there if I could. She probably wouldn't let me. Anyway, on Wisconsin, appreciate you guys so much. When you're there, go check out Locked On College Football for all the latest stories and the biggest stories on the college football sphere. On Wisconsin, and we will talk tomorrow.